Welcome to the Parkrun Brief, the weekly parkrun training podcast where I break down what we've published this week on parkruntraining.co.nz and turn it into practical coaching advice you can use this Saturday. Kia ora, I'm Coach Ray. I am a running coach who specialises in coaching beginner and recreational athletes to achieve their sporting as well as their health and fitness goals. Here we go, looking at the Sunday reset. Now, your Sunday mental reset, building confidence for next Saturday's run. By Sunday, the physical effort of yesterday's parkrun has usually started to fade. The legs loosen up, the breathing has long settled, and the body is beginning to recover. But the mind often lingers a little longer. Maybe you're replaying the run in your head, the strong moments, the difficult ones, the kilometre where things got uncomfortable. Maybe you're wondering what you could have done differently, or maybe you're already thinking ahead to next Saturday and hoping things feel better. That's completely normal. Running is physical, but it's also deeply mental. Confidence, focus, and belief influence how we pace ourselves, how we handle discomfort, and how we finish a run. And Sunday is the perfect moment to reset that mental side of training. Start by letting yesterday go. The first step in a mental reset is surprisingly simple. Stop carrying yesterday's run around like a verdict. A good run doesn't mean you've figured it all out. A difficult run doesn't mean you're going backwards. Every parkrun sits inside a bigger story, weeks, months, and years of running that gradually shape your fitness. So instead of judging yesterday's performance, just acknowledge it. It happened. It taught you something. Now it's finished. That small shift frees your mind to focus forward rather than backwards. Remember what went well. Confidence grows when you recognize the things you are doing right. Even on a run that felt tough, there are always positives somewhere in the experience. Perhaps you started more controlled than usual, stayed mentally engaged when things got hard, held your form better than before, or simply showed up when motivation was low. These moments matter. They show progress in behaviours, not just outcomes. Take a moment today to recall one or two of those positives. They become quiet reminders that your training is moving in the right direction. Reframe the tough moments. Every runner experiences discomfort during a 5K. That's part of the challenge and part of what makes the finish satisfying. But how do you interpret those moments matter? Instead of seeing them as failure, try viewing them as training signals. A heavy final kilometre might simply mean pacing can improve. Early fatigue might point towards recovery or aerobic conditioning. A mental wobble might highlight the moment where confidence needs to step in. When you see these moments as information rather than evidence against you, they start eroding confidence and start building experience. Visualize a calm start next Saturday. Confidence often begins before the running even starts. Spend a quiet minute today picturing the next parkrun start line. Imagine arriving relaxed, warming up smoothly, standing at the start feeling calm rather than rushed. Visualize the first kilometre unfolding at a controlled pace, breathing steady, shoulders relaxed, legs moving freely. The simple mental rehearsal isn't wishful thinking. It helps your brain recognize the situation next Saturday and respond with familiarity rather than tension. Choose one thought to carry into the week. Mental reset works best when it's simple. Pick one phrase that reflects how you want to approach the week ahead. It might be something like relax and run, smooth early, strong late, consistency over perfection. You don't need to repeat it constantly. Just let it sit quietly in the background of your training week. When Wednesday's run feels heavy or motivation dips, that phrase can gently guide you back to the right mindset. Confidence is built between runs. It's easy to think confidence comes from results, but most of the time it comes from quieter moments in between. When you keep showing up, keep learning, and keep adjusting, Sunday is one of those moments. It's a chance to clear the mental slate, recognize the progress already happening, and step into the new week feeling calm rather than pressured. The legs will recover on their own. Your job today is simply to let the mind reset too. Because when Saturday arrives again, confidence really appears out of nowhere. It grows from the small, thoughtful resets you make along the way. On Saturday, we published the recovery shortcut you're probably ignoring. Most runners are always looking for ways to run faster. They search for better workouts, smarter training strategies, and new training plans. But one of the simplest performance upgrades often gets overlooked. It's not a workout. It's not a supplement. It's not even a piece of gear. It's sleep. Sleep is a recovery shortcut that many runners ignore. It is one of the most powerful tools you have for improving performance. What sleep actually does for runners. When you sleep well, your body gets to work repairing and strengthening the systems that make running easier. During quality sleep, your body repairs muscle tissue, restores energy stores, strengthens tendons and connective tissue, balances hormones related to recovery, processes the training stress from the week. In other words, sleep is when your training actually turns into fitness. Without it, the body simply struggles to adapt. Why sleep affects your parkrun performance. A poor night of sleep doesn't just make you feel tired, it can affect reaction time, coordination, pace judgment, perceived effort, and motivation. Runs that should feel comfortable suddenly feel like hard work. Many runners assume they're losing fitness when this happens. Often they're just under-recovered. The simple habit that makes a difference. You don't need to sleep perfectly every night to benefit, but one habit helps enormously. Protect your Friday night sleep. Try to avoid very late nights. Limit screens close to bedtime. Hydrate earlier in the evening. Allow enough time to wake up without rushing. A calm, well-rested start to Saturday morning often leads to a calmer, stronger run. Recovery is training too. It's easy to think progress only comes from pushing harder, but improvement actually comes from the balance between training stress and recovery. When recovery improves, the same training suddenly produces better results. Sometimes the fastest runners aren't the ones training the hardest. They're the ones recovering smartest. Saturday Spark takeaway. If you want an edge this weekend, remember the simple recovery shortcut. Respect your sleep, protect your Friday night recovery, arrive fresh rather than fatigued. Fitness is built during training, but it's delivered or it's revealed during recovery. Run well today and enjoy your parkrun. The Friday Fast Track, workout 4 by 90 second hill reps. Hill training doesn't always need huge volume to be effective. It can deliver a powerful stimulus for strength, form, and aerobic development. This Friday Fast Track session uses hill reps to build sustained power and resilience. Ideal preparation for the moments in a parkrun when the effort really starts to bite. Warm up, 10 minutes at level 2, easy, relaxed running. Main set, 4 by 90 seconds uphill at level 5, strong. Then take 3 minutes to jog downhill at level 1 to 2 as the recovery. Cool down, 10 minutes at level 2. And post-run, 10 minutes of gentle stretching. Why this works for parkrun. Hill reps combine strength and endurance in a way that flat running often can't. The uphill gradient naturally encourages good posture and powerful stride mechanics while reducing the impact forces that come with fast running on flat terrain. For parkrunners, this session helps you build leg strength and muscular endurance, improve running economy and posture, develop the ability to sustain hard efforts, increase aerobic power in a controlled way, handle hills or surges during parkrun with more confidence. The longer recovery allows you to attack each climb with quality. How it should feel. Strong and demanding from start to finish. Breathing rises steadily during each climb. Effort is high but controlled, not a sprint. You should reach the top or your turnaround point feeling worked but capable of repeating the effort. If the final rep becomes frantic or sloppy, shorten stride and focus on smooth running. Coach's tip, focus on running tall and purposeful. Drive the arms, keep your chest open, and aim for quick, light steps rather than pushing for big strides. Hills reward good mechanics. Let the gradient build the strength while you maintain relaxed, efficient movement. Want to finish your next parkrun feeling stronger and more in control? Grab my free guide, Stronger for Parkrun, a quick routine to finish your 5K better. The link for this is down in the description. It's a simple, effective strength session you can add after any run, including today's Friday Fast Track workout. Why most parkrunners struggle in the first kilometre and the perfect parkrun warm-up to fix it. If you ask runners what the hardest part of parkrun is, Most will say the final kilometre. But if you pay close attention to how runners actually feel during the run, a different pattern shows up. The hardest part for many runners is the first kilometre. It's the moment where breathing spikes, the legs feel heavy, the pace suddenly feels harder than expected. And often, by the time runners settle into rhythm, the damage is already done. You've either gone out too hard, or they've spent the first kilometre fighting their body instead of working with it. The surprising thing is that this problem usually has nothing to do with fitness. More often it comes down to something much simpler. They started cold. The typical parkrun start. Watch what happens at most parkruns. Runners arrive. They chat with friends. They stand around waiting for the start. They shuffle towards the start line during the briefing. Then suddenly the countdown begins. 3, 2, 1, and everyone launches into race pace. From a physiological perspective, that's a terrible way to start a 5K. Your body has gone from standing still to race intensity in seconds. Muscles are cold. Oxygen delivery hasn't ramped up yet. The nervous system hasn't been primed for the effort. So the first kilometre feels like a shock to the system. That's why so many runners describe their opening minutes as feeling uncomfortable, awkward, or harder than expected. But it doesn't have to be that way. What a good warm-up actually does. Many recreational runners skip warm-ups because they assume warm-ups are only for elite athletes, but the opposite is true. The less experienced a runner is, the more valuable a proper warm-up becomes. A good warm-up does 3 important things. First, it raises your core temperature. Warmer muscles contract more efficiently and are less prone to strain. Second, it limits oxygen delivery. Your cardiovascular system begins ramping up before the run begins. Third, and most importantly, it activates your nervous system. That means your body is ready to run at a pace you're about to ask of it. Without that preparation, a race pace feels like a shock. With it, race pace feels like something your body already understands. Why the first kilometre matters. The first kilometre of a 5K sets the tone for the entire run. If you start well, you settle into rhythm early. Your breathing stabilizes, your pacing becomes controlled, and if the first kilometre is chaotic, everything else becomes harder. You might start too fast and fade later. Start too cautiously because the effort feels overwhelming. Spend the first half of the run trying to find your rhythm. That's why experienced runners focus heavily on preparing properly before the start. It's not about doing more work. It's about making sure the body is ready to perform. The simple parkrun warm-up I recommend. Over the years, I've coached thousands of runners preparing for parkrun and other 5K races. Through trial and error, as well as numerous degrees at university, I've found that the most effective warm-ups are also the simplest. This is the routine I recommend most often. 10 minutes, level 2. Then 3 by 60 seconds, level 4, with 30 seconds, level 2 rest interval. Finish just before the event briefing and loosen up with some light leg swings during the briefing. That's it. The whole routine takes about 15 minutes, but those 15 minutes make a huge difference. Why this warm-up works. First part of the routine, the 10 minutes at level 2, gradually raises your core temperature and prepares your aerobic system. This shouldn't feel hard. It's conversational running, comfortable and relaxed. The second part, the 3 60-second efforts at level 4, primes your body for race pace. These short efforts activate your neuromuscular system, so the pace you'll run during parkrun doesn't feel like a sudden shock. Instead, when the run starts, your body already recognizes the effort level. You simply continue running. The final step, finishing close to the briefing, ensures you arrive on the start line warm and ready, rather than cooling down while standing around. What runners notice when they use it. Runners who start using this routine consistently usually report 3 things straight away. First, the first kilometre feels smoother. Instead of struggling to settle into the run, they feel like they're already moving well from the start. Second, the race pace feels more controlled. Breathing doesn't spike as dramatically because the body has already adjusted to the effort. Third, they find their rhythm earlier, and rhythm is everything in a 5K. Once you're in rhythm, the run becomes far more manageable. The biggest mistake with warm-ups, ironically, when runners do start warming up, they sometimes overdo it. They turn the warm-up into a workout. That's not the goal. The warm-up should prepare you for performance, not tire you out before the run even begins. That's why the routine above works so well. It's enough to prepare the body, but not enough to create fatigue. Try this warm-up exactly as written. Pay attention to how the first kilometre feels compared to normal. You may notice that the early part of the run suddenly feels calmer and more controlled. It's not magic, it's preparation. You can download the full warm-up blueprint. If you'd like a simple guide you can refer to before parkrun each week, I've put together a short resource that walks you through the routine step by step. You can download it in the link in the description. It takes less than 2 minutes to read and can completely change how your next parkrun feels. Run with intent. Have purpose in each step. Why this tip matters. It's easy to fall into autopilot when you run, especially at parkrun, where the routine can feel familiar week after week. But the difference between simply getting through the run and truly progressing often comes down to one thing: intent. Running with intent means knowing why you're running the way you are today. Every step has a purpose, whether that's pacing well, holding good posture, finishing strong, or simply running relaxed. Purpose turns effort into progress. What does running with intent actually mean? Intent doesn't mean running harder, it means running aware. Before you start, choose a simple focus: pace control, relaxed form, cadence and rhythm, strong hill effort, smooth breathing, or finishing well. One clear goal is enough. When your mind has a job, your running becomes more deliberate and effective. Why intent improves performance. When you run with purpose, you stay mentally engaged, pacing decisions become smarter, form holds together longer, effort feels more controlled, and confidence grows. Instead of reacting to fatigue, you respond with a plan. Use intent through the run. Start. Settle in with patience. Don't rush. Your goal is to feel controlled early. Middle, check in with your chosen focus. Are you still running the way you intended? And finish, recommit to your purpose. Lift when you're ready and finish with pride. Small moments of awareness add up to a stronger overall run. Intent works for every type of parkrun. Intent isn't only for PB attempts, it applies to easy fun runs, pace practice days, recovery jogs, time trials. Even an easy parkrun becomes valuable when you decide what you're practicing. Keep it simple. Don't overload yourself with too many cues. Pick one thing and stick with it. Examples: tall and relaxed, quick and light, smooth effort, strong finish. Simple intent creates clear execution. Final takeaway: running with intent means showing up with purpose. Decide what you want from the run, focus on it, and let every step move you towards that goal. When you run with intent, parkrun becomes more than a weekly run. It becomes a powerful training tool. And then on Tuesday, the parkrun progress report: experience, rhythm, and one small pacing adjustment. Robyn Meikle, Neil Park Parkrun Progress Report. This week's Parkrun Progress Report looks at Robyn Meikle's run at Neil Park Parkrun in Nelson, a flat, fast, T-shaped course that rewards runners who can settle quickly and hold rhythm. I don't coach Robyn personally, but she sent her run in for a review. And before we even look at the data, there's something worth acknowledging. Robyn has now completed 200 parkruns, a fantastic milestone that shows long-term commitment, consistency, and genuine love of running. That kind of experience usually shows up in pacing, and this run is no exception. The run at a glance. She had splits: first kilometre of 6:04, second kilometre of 5:35, backing that up with a 5:31, 5:38, and then finishing with a 5:39. Overall time of 28:47, although Strava recorded this as 28:43. At first glance, one thing stands out immediately. The opening kilometre is noticeably slower than the rest of the run. After that, though, the pacing settles into a very controlled rhythm. The pacing story. Once Robyn found her pace, she held it extremely well. The second, third, fourth, and fifth kilometres all sit inside a tight pace window. That kind of consistency is a hallmark of an experienced parkrunner. There's no dramatic fade, no sudden drop in pace, and no loss of control late in the run. This was a measured effort. The only real pacing difference comes from the opening kilometre, which was around 25 to 30 seconds slower than the rest. And that's actually very common, especially for runners who prioritize comfort and control. Robyn's cadence averaged 187 strides per minute, which is excellent. Even better, cadence built as the run progressed. Most of the runs sat in the high 180. Cadence reached into the 190s late in the race. That tells us a lot. Her mechanics are efficient. She isn't overstriding, and fatigue isn't causing form breakdown. For many runners in this pace range, cadence often falls as fatigue builds, but that's not happening here. This is strong technical foundation. Her heart rate behavior. Heart rate data shows a smooth, progressive climb, around 146 beats per minute early, slowly rising through the middle, reaching roughly 160 beats per minute late, peaking around 165 beats per minute. This is exactly what we want to see in a controlled effort. No early spike, no sudden drift, and steady build as work accumulates. Importantly, heart rate plateaus towards the end rather than continuing to rise aggressively. That suggests Robyn finished in control rather than right on the limit. What 200 park runs look like. When someone has completed that many events, you'll often see emotional pacing. Athletes know how to avoid making the classic mistake of going out too hard. Robyn's run shows that experience clearly. She didn't chase the start. She settled in. She held rhythm. That's smart running. The opportunity for improvements, from a coaching perspective, the biggest opportunity is simple. Bring a little more confidence into the opening kilometre. Because the course is flat, heart rate stayed controlled, cadence remained strong, and there was no late fade. It's very likely Robyn could start quicker, even just 10 to 15 seconds faster, and still maintain the same middle and finishing pace. That small adjustment alone could make a meaningful difference to the finishing time without requiring any extra fitness. The bigger picture, Robyn's all-time PB sits at 26:28, with a recent best of 27:59 last year. This run doesn't suggest a loss of capability. Instead, it looks like a runner who has excellent pacing control, strong technical habits, and good aerobic regulation, and simply runs with a touch more caution early than necessary. But that's a very coachable place to be. Key takeaway, experience gives you control. Confidence brings speed. This run shows a strong foundation. The next step isn't running harder, it's trusting the effort slightly earlier. Sometimes the biggest improvement comes from a tiny change in the first kilometre. Want help with your own parkrun pacing? If you'd like to improve your confidence, pacing, and consistency at parkrun, Parkrun Kickstart is built specifically for runners wanting a smarter, more structured progress. Join Parkrun Kickstart at the link in the description. And if you'd like to receive your own parkrun progress report in the future, a link to apply is also in the description. Kia kite anō, and all the best for your next parkrun.